what can a car be, or what does it have to be? What are the requirements to get you around? You really need 5,000 pounds of steel to drive you to the store and back, you know? And if you get people to ask themselves these questions, then you can start a paradigm shift.
A lot of people are going to say, well, what if when I go camping with the kids, or what if I want to go to the lumberyard, and all these other reasons why they need these big cars. But a lot of people have 2 cars. Right. If you're going to build a car that's going to get high mileage, extremely high mileage, 80, 90, 100 miles to the gallon, this is not the car that's going to do everything you need a car to do. This is the car you're going to do for 80% of those trips when you are riding alone. Right. Somewhere in a car. Town, and this is when you take the little car.
And like Bob was saying, you know, it's out there right now. In Europe, they have a lot of these vehicles right there. And we just don't have that opportunity in this country right now, which is really disappointing to us. So I think to everyone, I mean, there's a hunger out there for that.
Well, this car has more legroom than most other cars.
Yes.
Because you get into a modern car and it has a very large tunnel and this console with a computer behind it, and the doors are 4 inches thick, and so you really only have space for your feet. There's not a lot of spreading out. I mean, this car, you can put a 6-pack of beer down next to your seat, and it sits there fine, doesn't tip over. It's great.
You might want to edit that one out.
Yeah. Not that you'd be drinking it, but while you're coming back from the store. No, I learned that. I bought a 6-pack last week, and I put it down on the floor in front of the passenger seat, and the car handles really well, so I'm not shy about going around turns without braking.
Spilling the beer.
Well, I hadn't opened it, but I made the turn, and the whole 6-pack went kaboom, and everything slid across. It's so big, the bottle slid across up against the opposite door. So I got them all picked up, put them back in the rack. I'm thinking, oh, they're all shook up now. Well, I put the 6-pack down next to my chair between my seat and the door, and it just fit down there perfectly. I thought, well, this car's great. Car is based loosely on a Kawasaki Mule, an all-wheel drive utility vehicle that we bought mainly because it has the ideal diesel engine in it, and it had a true differential which we needed to have front-wheel drive.
And you guys get the torches and the sawzalls going on that thing and cut that into a million pieces.
The hard stuff was really just some of those, you know, building the frame. I mean, building something from a pile of junk, that was really the hard part, and thinking through all those dynamics and, you know, how high do we set the body? Well, we don't know.
Yeah. Some of these early pictures here, and some of these might be repeats, but you can see the motorcycle configuration in the back end here of that Kawasaki. And in the front end, you can see Evan's work on extending the steering linkage and the drive shaft. The original differentials back in here, and this is Bill's version of Evan's idea for a Ferrari grill, made out of the scrap pieces left over from the Kawasaki Mule.
It was kind of like a little barbershop scene in a way, and I think for some people it was more than just a car building thing, but it was like going to the barbershop and hanging out, and some weekends we would spend half the time just talking about it, and then put in a couple of bolts and go home. Very satisfying. And you know, I'm thinking about how many projects like this never get finished.
Oh yeah, most of them.
And I think one of the ways this got finished was by not thinking about finishing it. We were always thinking about just the next step, and we're sort of sneaking up on the end by not looking at it, and then we turned around and we grabbed it, and the car was done. It was really pretty amazing.
A couple of years ago, I built Moonbeam, a three-wheeler, also a three-wheeler, gasoline-powered.
Excuse me, who are you?
Oh, yes.
Who is this guy?
I'm Jory Squibb, also from Camden.
Our mentor.
Yeah.
Oh yes, I actually.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And basically, wondered where I should take the idea once this car was on the road and getting 100 miles to the gallon, and heard about the X Prize, and wanted to see if we could improve all the shortcomings of Moonbeam. Moonbeam had given us two ideas. First of all, that off-the-shelf technology could double or even triple the efficiency of transportation. That without even bringing in lithium batteries and all sorts of fancy things, you could take existing technology and triple the efficiency. And it also gave us the idea that a bunch of shade tree mechanics could build one of these things, that it was not beyond our possibility. And so we formed a group.
This is the original group, not even all there. Just Joe Sawyer, I wanted to mention him because he was the elder member of our group and had extremely valuable life experience. He was a real diesel advocate too. Every time we talk about different ways of going, he come back to diesel, inherently 20% more efficient. He sold us on that. And he died in the middle of in the early stages of this project, and his family let us use the garage, and so that's where we ended up building the car.
It's a wood body, as you've noticed, and we went with wood because, well, for a number of reasons. One, we had built the frame and had a roll cage. We had to wrap it in something. We had to make a body, and this is a really lightweight, very fast way of creating nice shapes. So we just sort of eyeballed the shape of it and began planking it, and it went really quick. And it's very basic. You know, we haven't gotten a speedometer or a tach hooked up. We have engine instruments, and we have lights and blinkers, and it's almost legal. We need to install a wiper and seat belts, and then we'll be able to get our Maine inspection sticker. But as of now, it's registered and insured. And the police don't seem to bother too much about it. The cops actually, a few of them stopped by here when we were working on it one day, and they were just excited. They asked questions, they were really into it, and they came back later with their friends to show them, so I think they're on our side. And it is a very endearing little car, and it's not threatening in any way, except the GM maybe.
When we went to this competition in Watkins Glen, all we heard were positive responses towards this vehicle. Every car that went past us or we passed, thumbs up, all kinds of waving, and it was amazing.
I think we took a hit by deciding to go front-wheel drive. Obviously, a rear-wheel
More friction.
single is more friction. There's more running gear. There's more stuff.
You know, you're trading against better traction and
right. So it's one of those compromises, but it is a better car for the front-wheel drive. There's no doubt about that.
It does impact your mileage. So.
Yeah.
And would a turbo be neutral to gas economy, do you suppose?
I'm hoping.
All I've heard is that it will improve it because it burns the fuel more efficiently.
I'm hoping that it's
And
the
when
same
you
engine
scale-
as this, the 950 turbocharged version, gets you, what, 8 more horsepower? I believe it's like 7, 8 horsepower more,
Yeah.
and we'll do it at the same economy.
Wow.
Which will then put this car in a position of doing comfortably 65 on the turnpikes. Now 60 is okay, 65 is a little strained a little bit. 70, you're pretty well maxed
It would
out.
also mean that he could get into the lower end of fifth gear.
Yeah, I think
with
more
more
comfortably.
horsepower.
I think your accelerating will improve everything. That 7 horsepower on that small 27 horsepower start motor is a huge difference on this vehicle. So I think that if our economy stays the same, and that horsepower boost will be phenomenal. You know, and the handling characteristics, the potential for superior handling are in that, you know, and unfortunately it is a Kawasaki mule suspension, but as poor as that suspension is, it handles like a dream. I mean, you can just rail corners, you can...
It's no worse than an old MG.
It's better,
Yeah.
far better than any little sports car I've been in. I mean, you can come down a hill and nail a corner and it just boom, right around, and like the seats are falling over, but the vehicle is flat, level, just
And the beer is sliding.
yeah, and the beer is sliding, but it rails. It's wonderful. So I could see that with a nice suspension on there with some disc brakes up front, you know, with a decent suspension on the rear from a motorcycle, same configuration type of thing, but just, you know, I think 4 more horsepower would just put it comfortably in doing those hills nicely. And a few of those hills we were driving on those back roads, rolly roads, you go down and you're doing 70 down, and then you're coming up the other side, just at the top, you're like, oh geez, you know, just a little bit more would be nice, but you're downshifting and, you know, that type of thing, and it would just take a little more is all it would be, so I think that that would do it.
This whole phase 2 is contingent on fundraising, which we've had great success with Dirigo. And people have just been inspired by our ideas and the vision of this car, so they've been giving us money, and it's been terrific. So if we can somehow maintain that enthusiasm with people.
Yeah, hats off to those folks, really. We would
yeah.
not have been able to do any of this without...
Right. Yeah. So all you people who are seeing this film, I'm talking to camera, I'm talking to you now. Thank you so much for sharing in our vision and supporting us as far as we've come. Yeah. And we'll be back in touch with you soon.
Keep your checkbook handy.